Hello, welcome to the introduction to sacred, holistic, empowered healthcare through the Embodied Empress program. So this is my new one-to-one program supporting women in shifting out of chronic pain, chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, insomnia, menstrual pains, infertility, PMS, PMDD, whatever it is, skincare, cellulite, joyful weight balancing, whatever it is, I'm here to support you in shifting out. And not only shifting out, but shifting in to vibrant health on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, financial, sexual. We get it all with this program. And I'm really excited. It's just been a long time for me in shifting out of, even though I was a holistic practitioner, I felt locked into this box of acupuncture, a little bit of herbs, maybe some nutrition if I could get it in, if I was lucky, talking about, lifestyle support, holistic lifestyle support. And I definitely did not feel empowered personally, or like I was empowering my clients to the best of my ability. And there was really no space for the sacred in that process. And it weighed on me every day, this feeling like I wasn't using all of my gifts. And not only was I not using them, but I just wanted to be in them all the time. And so it was this big void in my life. I'd say about 5 years ago, this process started when I realized that I could create a business my own way, and in a way that really filled me up. So I started a clinic of my own in Eugene, Oregon called the Womb Center. And it was focused on women's and children's health, especially around, our feminine organs and our reproductive cycle, from the beginning to end. And it was great. I was able to teach classes and to really develop my different modalities, integrating what I had studied over the last 25 plus years. Because I was raised in a holistic household, I started working and apprenticing with holistic healers quite young, and have spent the majority of my life really diving deep into various healing modalities. So I've been able to glean from those practices the things that benefit people the most, and figure out what that looks like in these modern times, especially for women, with our busy lives and our tendency to push ourselves, and not only that, but how to integrate all of these different aspects of life in a really meaningful way. And so I'm finally feeling like I have that with the Embodied Empress program. And so I'm just going to explain a little bit about how it works. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. But it is quite a unique process in that you get aspects of the clinical. You get my, holistic clinician brain that has all of this wisdom from thousands of years of Chinese medicine, yogic practices, all of these things that really support our ability to have a strong body. And so we use those as a foundational practice to start really building our body, or rebuilding our body as a temple for the divine and for the goddess. And so I was able to integrate these deep heart-centered needs that I had into my personal practice of healing. And I realized that these were things that could really benefit women at this point in time. And we might not, women might not even realize that these practices are available or can be beneficial. And so being able to integrate those two leads to this sense of deep empowerment. Because as women especially, we are often willing to take care of others. So if we can learn to take care of ourselves as we would another, or as we would a temple for the goddess, and invite that goddess energy to come to us, then it can make the whole process of getting our spirit into our body, of getting our entire body strong and healthy, it could make it that much easier. In this process, I realized that the things that I wanted to do most consistently involved play and pleasure. And when I went back more and studied the more playful and pleasureful practices within Chinese medicine, a whole new branch opened up to me. And I had always known it existed, but had been so focused on the clinical side that I hadn't spent a lot of time diving into it. And so I started exploring more Taoist sexual health about 5 years ago. And, had studied Tantra off and on for years. But what I loved about Taoist sexual health is this strong connection to practices that can really make our body temple strong. And yoga is one of those. In that way, it is closely connected with some tantric practices. And I do incorporate some tantric practices into the pleasure practices that we do in the program. But having been predominantly trained in Chinese medicine, it felt really natural to explore that aspect more. And so when I incorporate pleasure and play into my client experience, there is a very, significant purpose to that. And that is that as women, we have such full lives. And if they're not full, it's likely that there's a void that needs to be filled. And sometimes we have a void that needs to be filled and we're busy because we're avoiding the void. So how can we fill that void? How can we fill that disconnection most effectively? Through play and pleasure. And this is really brought home in Taoist practices because out of that we have Qigong, which is this process of enlivening our entire bodies to draw in our spirit. And then once our spirit is drawn in, we're able to circulate that energy, circulate our spirit through our body. And in doing so, connect it to the greater spirit, the spirit of the universe, and allowing that to flow through us and charging our bodies. And when we do this practice effectively, it leads to not only greater health, but greater chances of longevity. So these practices that the Taoist ancients have been using for thousands of years, I decided that I would reframe them to fit in most effectively into modern life for modern women. And that's what I've been focused on for the last 5 years. So I decided to close my clinic, did some work for other people here and there, but really felt super focused on getting this program actualized. And so 5 years later, I'm still getting all of the pieces together. It's been a long road of deep clarity work and, healing my deep wounds on multiple levels. To be able to hold that space for other women, to be able to hold that frequency and that energy so that my experience could resonate most effectively. And all of the practices that I share with my clients are practices that I do regularly. There are certain things that are better suited for other people, or certain, different twists or takes on certain exercises. But overall, the process is one that I am deeply enmeshed in. And so I understand the challenges in incorporating self-care into our daily routines. And I've been able to take a deep look at that and really figure out, how do we stack this self-care in? How do we stack our pleasure in and our play in so that we can still be productive, so that we can still get all of the things that we want out of life? And what I found is that when we stack self-care into our day, not only do we feel better because we're getting our needs met, we're relieving pain and tension that might build up, we're charging our batteries so we have energy to get through the day. But on top of that, we actually end up being more productive with our time. We learn how to delegate. We learn how to, if not multitask, then how to move through challenging situations quickly, or to really focus on one task, or how to alternate between tasks, whatever that flow is that causes us to be most productive and to feel best about ourselves. So we get into not only health, not only our physical body, our emotional and mental health, our spiritual health, and our connection with the universe. But we get into how does this amplify the beauty in our lives? Not only does it make, it generally better, but how can we specifically use these practices to up level and to, if we have a business, how can we use these practices in our business? How can we use these practices in our intimacy and romantic lives? How can we use these practices in community to support, whatever our goals are? So it becomes a very powerful process of getting into our bodies, connecting with everything while still remaining in this deep sovereign place, this queendom that we create within our energy field and within our homes and within our businesses. And then being able to engage with the world from that space. And we engage with the world from a queenly space and from a goddesshood space. We are much less likely to take on other people's energy that doesn't serve us, or to be enmeshed in processes that don't serve us. We can release things that don't serve with ease and grace. And this pertains to weight. This pertains to jobs. This pertains to relationships. Whatever it is that doesn't serve us, when our energy is strong and vibrantly flowing, and we are so powerfully connected through our intuitive body, through our pleasure body, with the energy around us. And our boundaries are so strong that only what serves us can get in. We don't even have to think about it, right? We can, but we can get out of our minds. We can stay out of our minds if we want. We can do everything from an intuitive space if we so choose. So that is the ultimate goal of my work, is really empowering women to find the processes, to find the energies, to find the practices that work best in facilitating this empowerment. And we do this through a number of ways, and it can vary client by client. But if we can get all of them, it's ideal. And, if someone has one of them that they're feeling good in, we just set it aside for now and deal with things as they come up. So those, I call them pillars or sections of the program that we focus on, are touch-based therapies. So working especially with our myofascial health and our nervous system health and our circulation. So for these, we learn how to use different types of touch on our bodies. So we have loving touch, we have sensual touch, and we have therapeutic touch. And so we focus a lot on therapeutic touch at first to really make sure our nervous system is strong and activated, but we will incorporate the other touches as well. And then once we are strong, we begin to learn to activate our orgasmic body, which is a subtle aspect of the nervous system that, when turned on, can really deeply accept pleasure. And we learn to move in such a way that we can rhythmically stimulate orgasmic energy anywhere in our body. And to do this, it's a process. It's not automatic, but learning to release blockages throughout our body that are preventing our function as well as our energetic flow is really the foundation and the first step to that process. In addition, we learn to move in a very fluid way, which also facilitates removal of blockages, nervous system function, optimal muscle tone, so that we can rhythmically pulse and develop those beautiful skeletal muscle orgasms. when we can create space over our heart so that we can experience more heartgasms, our heart expanding and contracting in an orgasmic way. When our energy is strong and connected, we can even experience what I call like a universal orgasm, just that complete expansion of our energetic field and pressing in rhythmically in tune with the rhythm and pulse of life, of the universe itself, that big bang pulse. When we can tap into that energy, we can orgasm on multiple levels at the same time without even needing to be sexual. And that's true for our physical body as well. When we learn to rhythmically pulse our muscles in a certain way, we don't even need necessarily to be focused on sexuality. It can be a very sensual process. It can be very sensory as well, meaning that we can stimulate it with our taste, with our smell, with our touch, with our sight, with our everything. And in that sense, we can supercharge the effects of it and make it more powerful. And when we make these orgasmic releases very powerful, it discharges a lot of energy. And that energy is stored up in us as potential energy that can be blockages. And when those blockages are cleared, that energy comes through as connected to that universal flow, which supercharges our personal energy battery even more. So it's a really beautiful process. We use sacred, holistic, intuitive, nourishing, and empowered nutrition, mouthgasmic meals, and healthy hedonism to really make sure that we're deeply nourished and hydrated so that our entire body can function optimally, and then our nervous system and our intuitive system, our orgasmic bodies can function optimally. We also get pretty deep as needed into the miracle mindset. And the miracle mindset is really a process of releasing limitations. Like obviously, we all have some limitations, but releasing as many limitations as possible, especially mental and emotional ones. Clearing emotional blockages, learning how to process our emotions in really constructive ways, and when we need to be destructive. So it's shadow work, but it's shadow work in a playful and pleasurable way, so that when it starts to be too much, we have the tools to bring ourselves out of it. Or if we want to dive deep and really go through, we have a lifeline. And that can be, a whole toolkit of options to use, or it can be a physical, personal lifeline with me as your guide. And if I am not feeling equipped to help someone through a specific emotional process, then I have a range of more specialized trauma coaches that I work with. So we've got touch-based self-care, movement, and with movement we learn how to stand like a queen and move like a goddess. So that's a really fun and pleasurable process as well. We have, so we went into nutrition, we went into miracle mindset, and then the last one that I really like to focus on is herbal therapy, because it's so powerful and it's optional, but I highly recommend it for anyone that is struggling with blockages or struggling with chronic pain or not feeling like they're in their creative flow, because sometimes it's just such a simple fix of fixing something in the plumbing or making sure that an organ is functioning properly. And if it is a more severe or complicated case, then custom Chinese herbs can help remove layers that prevent us from seeing what's actually happening. And when we remove those layers, it becomes easier to see patterns in our physical body, patterns in our emotional body, patterns in our relationships, patterns in our choices in life. And really being able to see our patterns clearly can help us to get a better sense of what we need to do for ourselves to live the lives that we want. And when we get clear on how we want to live, what we want out of life, it becomes effortless to make the choices that help us get there. And so for most people, it's really about learning to self-honor, learning to trust our body's signals, to honor the choices that our spirit is asking us to make, to honor the sanctity of our womb and our heart, and to do the things that bring about the greatest amount of health, to honor our inner child and their needs, and to honor our future self and their needs, which is a really interesting process, this whole quantum meditation of accessing our future self as we would like to be, and finding out what needs they have and how we can meet them now can be a really powerful way of also serving someone slightly outside of ourselves, so that it becomes easier to do the practices. It's a little backwards, I know. I don't know. It's this weird psychology of the feminine mind. I think, and part of it is how we're raised and the society that we grew up in, but really it can be easier to serve someone outside of ourselves, even just slightly. That's why we serve God, that's why we serve Goddess, that's why there's churches and temples. So the point of the program really is to begin to shift into self-honoring, and then maybe even at some point into self-worship, so that we can move ever deeper into calling in our spirit, into calling the Goddess, the God, circulating the divine, and really feeling like we have a sense of place on this planet, in this dimension. And from there, our gifts naturally unfold, our purpose naturally unfolds. If we have any uncertainty, all we need to do is follow these playful, pleasureful practices, and all of the questions that we have, we can offer them up to that process, and they will be answered. The answer will unfold in front of us with beauty and with ease and with grace. Okay. I think that's all the transmission I have around that for now. I might hop on and do some more later. If you have any questions about any of my offerings, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to do specific videos on certain topics, to do a free assessment if you are considering working with me, which I highly recommend for everyone. There's no, at this point, no cost. That may change in the future. And in the amount of time we have, I do my best to really give you an idea of what this process would look like for you, and to give you at least some immediate feedback around things that you can do to support your own process. All right, I will talk to you soon.